That's right. Back at it again. Full custom hot dog. And we're doing a Blu-ray review. Another inconsistent Blu-ray review. This one's perfect for the Christmas season. I mentioned I wanted to do a few Christmas-ish movies for the upcoming holiday. So this week I've got hopefully 3 or 4 to put out. Only one or two of which is Christmas related, so I apologize. But we're going to be talking about the often requested Gremlins, and it's often requested by only one person, but he bugged me about it all the time, and I figured this is the perfect time to talk about it. I've hinted at it in the past, I think my most recent episode, because this version's very interesting to talk about. We're going to be talking about Gremlins, if you haven't caught on, the 1984 classic. It's not even a cult classic. To me, it's a bona fide classic film directed by Joe Dante, written by Chris Columbus. Just wonderful people behind the camera. Executive produced by Steven Spielberg and his company Amblin, one of the early Amblin pictures. So, why is this so interesting to talk about, Hot Dog? Why are we so interested to talk about this version of Gremlins? Well, Diamond Luxe, and I don't think we've talked about Diamond Luxe on this channel before because this is the only Diamond Luxe release that I have. So what is Diamond Luxe, you may be wondering? Well, Warner Brothers sort of released a series of films on Blu-ray called a Diamond Luxe series, and you would think, hey, this is a premiere series of blues. They're cool packaging. They're kind of a weird not hollow foil. They're very shiny. They open and close with magnets. They're not like anything else out there. They're not steel books. They aren't media books or anything. They're these weird fold-out styrofoam things that have pictures on them that shine, and then the discs just kind of get held in these indentations and tabs. Cool presentation. A lot of the films are 2 discs, and so you're thinking, Hot Dog, that sounds amazing. Hot Dog, that's so cool. However, these aren't new scans of these classic films that they put out. They also released Natural Born Killers on the Diamond Luxe, which I would love to pick up. I would really want to pick that up, actually. And then Gravity is another one that comes to mind. And unfortunately, that's all I can think of at some point, but I feel like there's 3 more that I'm missing. I don't think they do them anymore. I haven't been following. I haven't heard anything about it, so I'm going to assume that it's done. My main reasoning behind that is they were 20. I think that when they would come out, they were $30 to $40, and now I think they're 20 to 40. I feel like. So I mentioned there's no new scans, and in a lot of cases they're 2 discs, and the first disc would oftentimes be the original release of the film. So in this case, this is Gremlins, the Diamond Luxe version. However, the first disc that's included, because there's 2 discs here, the first disc was the Gremlins 25th anniversary Blu-ray. So if you have that, this is basically that, except there's another disc of bonus content, which of course we'll talk about. But it's a cool release. I loved Gremlins like crazy growing up, and it's kind of cool to have that extra content. As a collector, dropping an extra tenner for another disc and really cool packaging is kind of appealing to me, but the lack of another scan is kind of a bummer. But let's talk about what we've got on it. So that first disc, if you don't already know anything of what's on that release, you've got 2 commentaries. One with director Joe Dante, producer Michael Fennell, and special effects artist Chris Wallace. They really get into the nitty-gritty of it all. Really good, really solid commentary, actually. Very enjoyable, and it's kind of cool when you can feel chemistry between all 3 people. And I mean, Gremlins is an older flick, and it feels like they've been friends for years. Then you've got the second commentary track that's got Joe Dante, the director, and then you've got Phoebe Cates and Zach Galligan, Dick Miller and Howie Mandel. All of them were in the film, and you may be wondering, Hot Dog, I don't remember Howie Mandel in that movie. Well, Howie Mandel is the voice of Gizmo. He's basically doing Bobby's World, if you remember that cartoon, which isn't a complaint. I think the voice fits perfectly for Gizmo. Phenomenal job. And then you've got a behind-the-scenes featurette that's about 6.5 minutes. According to the description here, it's a vintage featurette. And I'm saying according to the description here because the Diamond Luxe version doesn't have a normal back. It's just a cool hollow thing of a stripe on a bicycle. Not a complaint. Then you've got additional scenes, so deleted scenes. a lot more of Judge Reinhold in those scenes, and those also all have commentary from Joe Dante and maybe the producer as well. That it doesn't say here, but the deleted scenes are very interesting because it adds Judge Reinhold much more to the film. There's kind of this B plot that got cut out of the film involving Judge Reinhold's character. I do love Judge Reinhold. I'm a bit of a Judge head, and so it's kind of a bummer to see him cut out, but I do think it helps the film flow a little bit better. Pretty much what they said as well. And then you've got, standard photo gallery, 2 trailers for the Gremlins, and then a trailer for Gremlins 2, the new batch. I said the Gremlins. What a rookie move. So then we move on to disc 2. You've got something called Cute, Clever, Mischievous, Intelligent, Dangerous, Making Gremlins. That's a half-hour new feature that has interviews with pretty much almost everybody. Joe Dante, Zach Galligan, Chris Columbus, Steven Spielberg, Frank Marshall, another producer, and Michael Fennell, who was, we mentioned him earlier in production. Columbus talks about his inspirations behind writing it, how he didn't think anybody would ever write this, and Spielberg talks about how and why he picked it up, and the rewrites, and why he picked Dante to direct, and it was because of Piranha and the Howling, and he thought he would work great with these little creatures. Really cool stuff. Really interesting to see how Galligan wasn't even sure what the movie was about, because his audition was with Phoebe Cates, and it was kind of a romantic scene, and then he kind of thought it might have been a romantic comedy, except for the fact the title was Gremlins. Then you've also got a feature called From Gizmo to Gremlins, Creating the Creatures. 18 minutes about making the creatures, and there's a lot that goes into animatronics that I feel like we've sort of forgotten about, which is kind of a bummer. Surprisingly in depth. And you've got something called Hanging with Hoyt on the set of Gremlins, which is Hoyt Axton, who's the father in Gremlins. And it's just him dicking around from back in the day. And then you've got 2 digital comics. Now, I don't think digital comics or motion comics are very cool. At least I never have. But I also I don't think I'd seen one until now. I just thought the concept seemed dumb. And I feel like these really just sent it home that I was correct, that I was always right, that these are completely dumb. You've got 2 of them here, Gremlins, The Gift of the Mogwai, and then The Last Gremlin. Now, the first one is pretty much the first half hour of the film. The second one is like the last 15 minutes of the film. So it's like, if you want to watch Gremlins, but don't have more than 15 minutes, this is totally for you. So, that's what's on both discs. Is it worth an upgrade? If you're a hardcore Gremlins fan, sure. If you're not, like I said, this isn't a new scan. That's what I tend to look for. I do not know of a Gremlins 2K, 4K scan, although I haven't really looked. I'm assuming with this new 4K stuff going on right now, it's definitely possible, but, they would have to spring for some new scans, and Gremlins is kind of at a weird spot right now, but I think with everything, we're kind of back at this point of 80s nostalgia, which isn't really a complaint. The music's sort of coming back, and the aesthetics movement is coming back. I always talk about that. It wouldn't be surprising. It's kind of cool to see some of my local theaters are doing midnight showings and stuff of Gremlins. Just a phenomenal flick. But anyways, I'm getting off topic, or at least off topic to what I should be talking about right now. It's a solid release, the Diamond Luxes. If I paid $20, and I don't remember, I picked this up a while ago. If I paid $20, it would be worth it. As a collector, the packaging is fantastic. You've got a second disc of bonus material. I think that's pretty sweet. If you're not a hardcore Gremlins head, or you're not interested in the GCU, the Gremlins Cinematic Universe, you can be totally fine with that standard 25th anniversary Gremlins edition, because there's a lot of content on there already. The second disc just kind of adds a bonus doc and some other stuff, which is neat, but to me, the meat and potatoes is that first disc. So overall, a B, maybe even a B minus, and the only reason that score is around that area is because you're calling it Diamond Luxe, Warner Brothers. You called it the Diamond Luxe line, and it's not a new scan, okay? It's a premiere that should be the best that film will ever look, the best everything, the marron, the creme de la creme, and it is not quite there because you did not opt for the new scan. That's just me, though. Let me know what you think in the comments if you own this release. If you own other Diamond Luxe releases, let me know what you think about that as well. I'm going by what I've heard about other ones when I say that they don't get new scans and stuff. It doesn't seem like it, so just throwing out guesses. But let's talk about the film Gremlins. That was a long time to talk about the discs. 1984, Gremlins. If you haven't seen it, basically a man goes to Chinatown to pick out a gift for his son, and he finds he sort of steals a mogwai, which is like a little monster, and there's some rules that he has to follow, like not feeding it after midnight and not getting wet, and I don't remember the third one, so I probably shouldn't get one of these guys myself. I know it doesn't like light, but I feel like that doesn't flow very well. Maybe it does. So of course the rules get broken and things go to hell, where there's gremlins that are monstrous creatures, and they have to set the wrong things right. Well, not those creatures, but the main character Billy and Gizmo, his mogwai friend. They have to save the day. It's a bizarre film, and I say it's bizarre because there's not much else like it, really. It's a Christmas horror comedy family film that kind of shouldn't be. It's partially responsible for the PG-13 rating. This and Indiana Jones. Mainly because of a scene where a gremlin gets put in a microwave and explodes into gory glory, and then Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom has the classic Kali Ma scene where the heart gets ripped out of the man's chest and it's still beating. Complete nightmare fuel. Both of these rated PG, I guess, and the PG-13 rating, because parents went like, oh, this is a bad idea. And there were parents who kind of saw this, and because the marketing, of course, leaned it heavily towards Gizmo and him being adorable. And then you watch the movie and it's dark, and it was supposed to be darker. Now there's a scene that got a lot of feedback, mainly if you recall the mother fighting in the kitchen. And that kind of freaked me out as a kid, to see a mom fighting for her life against creatures in the kitchen, and there's knives and they're throwing stuff and there's things getting killed. It's kind of intense for a kid. I mean, I don't know, you can make fun of me in the comments if you want. I thought it was pretty intense. I still think it's pretty intense. That scene got a lot of reaction. I think that was one of the ones that was kind of over the line. And initially, her head was supposed to be rolling down the stairs, having been cut off by a monstrous gremlin. But they're fun, mischievous creatures that are based, of course, on the classic folklore of electronics being messed up during the war, and they would say they were gremlins that were messing with it, and it's kind of fun to see that brought to life here. Now, in the novelization, which is not canon, by the way, there is a novelization. Gremlins come from space and are sent to teach man, or teach different races or whatever lessons or something dumb. And then in that novelization too, there's dialogue between them, between the gremlins, between the mogwai and stuff, that is borderline Shakespearean, according to some people. I have that novelization. I want to use it on a project here coming up, so we'll see if I can get to that one of these days. I've been planning it for a bit though, but we'll see. Solid cast, as I always say, and this is absolutely no different. This film is amazing pretty much in every aspect. Effects-wise, it's phenomenal. It's very, very, very well directed. Joe Dante even says how he's never made a film as big as this, and that's not really fair to Joe Dante, because his films are classics in their own right, but Gremlins was kind of a phenomenon, I think. I'm surprised it took so long for a sequel. It took, what, eight years or so for a Gremlins 2? Or 6 years. That's still a while, I think, in film time. Nowadays, it would have been out 6 months later. But you got Hoyt Axton, a classically trained actor, playing the father. Corey Feldman, who's playing Zach Galligan, Billy Peltzer. Corey Feldman is playing his best friend, and he's like 10. And then Billy's supposed to be like 20. Now, there's a joke in the commentary how Gremlins was initially about a kid that's like 13 or 14 that's going through this. So they were joking that maybe left over from the script was the fact that Billy Peltzer, this 20-year-old man, his best friend is like 10. It's kind of weird. Dick Miller, who you may remember we talked about in the Demon Knight episode, a classic actor who everyone loves when he pops up just because he's got that presence. Phoebe Cates, one of my first crushes on a celebrity. I never got too many, which you might have heard me talk about in this series, this show, this channel. But Phoebe Cates was absolute delight, still is. And great cast all around, though. Everyone's Judge Reinhold. Everybody just delivers, firing on all cylinders. It's a fun flick, though. If you haven't seen it, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Especially right now, it's the season. So, yeah, Gremlins. Jesus, this is a longer episode than I anticipated, but there is a lot to cover on that Diamond Luxe. So, let me know what you think of Gremlins if you're a fan, if you're not a fan. I'm kind of surprised to see if there's no fans, because I feel like this sort of encapsulates everything, at least for me personally, that I love when it comes to older film. Being in a right era, I mean, obviously this is 80s, which is a perfect spot for me. Nostalgia, though, it does hit me right in the nostalgia bones. You've also got it being dark and funny and pulling both off very well. And it's also Christmassy. So, anyways, full custom hot dog. Stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to be having more Christmas flicks out. And no, I am not going to do Die Hard. Definitely not this year or next year. I don't think I will ever treat Die Hard as a Christmas film. Maybe I'll talk about that sometime. I don't know. But definitely let me know what you think in the comments of Gremlins. And subscribe. I do Blu-ray reviews sometimes. I do other stuff other times. And you can holler at me on Twitter, Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because that is just too long for Twitter. And until next time.